All right, World Cup this weekend. Canada calling. Come in, Kevin Kilbane. How are you?
I'm very good, Shane. How's it going?
Keeping well, keeping well. Any snow over there at the minute? What's
Good
the weather
stuff.
like?
Yeah, we've just had a bit of snow the last couple of days, really now. It's just started -4 and -5 overnight now, really. So the weather's seriously turned in the last week, yeah.
The
Did
local shop was obviously they were running out of warm jackets, were they? That was left, or how did that come about?
But this is just like, as you can see, it's like a bit of a fleecy top just to keep you warm, Adrian, you know?
Mm.
You no more than yourself and your pink t-shirt there, you know?
Very stylish.
No, no, it's great. It's great that you're very observant about people's fashion.
We should start a fashion podcast, lads. This is
And
this is
that's
excellent.
Good shout.
no,
Um,
Shane, you don't talk about fashion, please.
Absolutely right, Kev.
apologies. Yeah, I can't really talk. Kev, there must be a bit of excitement there. 1986 was the last time the Canadians qualified for the World Cup. Must be a decent bit of build up.
Yeah, there definitely is. I think it's really with the hardcore fans, Shane. To be honest with you, it has been a long time coming, but I think it's probably gone under the radar with so many sports supporters here. Or I think we're getting certainly the soccer's getting a lot of publicity over. They're getting a lot of airtime just over the general networks here over the last, probably especially over the last 2 or 3 weeks, particularly when they qualified back in March now, as it turned out. But as we're getting closer and closer, you're starting to feel a little bit of momentum because you really are seeing it. It's almost like front and center now, yeah.
Is there expectations of getting out of the group? Maybe not expectations. It's a tough enough group to be in. But certainly the target, I guess, will be last 16.
The target probably is, yeah, of course, to get out. Expectations, Shane, you've got to be realistic and say they're playing against two of the top probably 6 or 8 teams in the world in Belgium and Croatia. Morocco themselves, if you look through their squad of players, they've got a real talented group of players as well. So I think results. There's been so much negativity around the team and around Canada soccer after qualification. You have to say that they're still in dispute over bonuses ahead of the World Cup. That's not been sorted. We're only a couple of days ahead of the tournament, 4 or 5 days ahead of Canada's first game against Belgium. But I think the feeling is certainly, I think within that group of play around us and everything that's been said around us aside, and we just concentrate on the football itself. And the coach John Herdman, he's got a background of coaching the Canada women's team, background in New Zealand originally. He's from the northeast of England, but he has. I think he's got them focused in a way where, look, let's put the sideshow apart and let's just get concentrating on the team. And in fairness, results haven't been great and performances haven't been great. I mean, people probably wouldn't have seen the Uruguay game. Outside Uruguay, they've not really played an awful lot of quality opposition. They've played Qatar, they've played Bahrain recently, and they're not really a level of team where you can judge them going into Belgium, and that's where probably a lot of the team are. But the Japan game, I think, has gone very well for the team. I think they've been playing very well in that Japan game. It's more of a test or more of a judge on where the team's going to be, and a lot of the key players are back. Jonathan David from Lille, who probably moved. Tajan Buchanan, who's just moved over to Belgium recently as well, playing excellently well, Champions League player this season. So the big players are back, but the worry is around Alfonso Davies, whether or not he'll be fit for that Belgium game.
He seems to get the best out of his players as well, Herdman, doesn't he? He's one of these coaches, and look, as you said, Alfonso Davies is the player they'll be sweating on, but even reasonably good players, 7 out of 10 players, he seems to get the most out of them, John Herdman.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key player actually, Shane, Stefan Eustáquio, who plays with Porto. I don't know if anyone's been maybe keeping an eye on Porto. They've done really well in the Champions League this season, and Eustáquio's been one of the key players for them. He is the main player. I think there'll be a lot of you guys, if you do watch Canada, you'll really like watching him play. He's a holding midfielder, or he can play as a 6 or an 8 as he plays for Porto. Gets forward, can score goals, but he does play a little bit more reclined for Canada as a holder essentially. So I think Eustáquio will be the key player for them to get them fit. But if the real game changer, will be Alfonso Davies. He doesn't play left back like he plays for Bayern. He plays further forward. We might see him as a 10 in the tournament, playing off Jonathan David, or we will most likely see him on the left-hand side of midfield, because it will probably be a 5-4-1 setup for them, with Buchanan on the right, and how they can counter against sides with their pace. And I think they can score goals. I think there's a lot of talent in this team. So, as I said, expectations have maybe been tempered a little bit, but I do feel there's a lot of talent in this side that they can score goals.
I was watching the FIFA documentary on Netflix show the weekend. It's Shaka Hislop and some of the Trinidad and Tobago players talking about how they got stiffed by Jack Warner for fees and contracts and all that stuff. And I thought, geez, that's really archaic. So I'm astonished in some ways to hear that. Did you say the pay stuff that had cropped up in June, that they went on strike about at that time, that's not resolved even now?
No, it's not resolved. Still not resolved, Adrian. There's a lot of negativity around the side. You know, they had a friendly arranged against Iran in the summer. I think it was June. They had a game. Anyone who knows politically, it was maybe a bad game to arrange. I think for Canada, simply because of the missile that struck down the airliner a few years ago that killed numerous Canadians. They were under pressure from Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, to cancel that game. They did cancel it. They hastily arranged another game, which the players boycotted themselves, refused to play over this bonus that they haven't got in place. I think the women and the guys are both on board, which, you know, is quite unique what they're trying to do here. They're trying to say, look, if the men's team qualify for a major tournament, the pot's going to be split between the women and the men. And also when the women, which obviously they're in our group for the World Cup, so that'll be interesting to see how our women do against Canada come next year in Australia. But they're splitting the pot again with the men and the women's team. They're trying to equal pay, still not sorted here yet, but for match fees, which again, considering how well the Canadian women have done over the last 10 or 15 years, it's crazy, that one really. But hopefully that will be sorted and that will be done and dusted. But there's a lot going on, you know, down in cattle class. We've heard it all before. Us as Irish supporters, we've heard it all before. You know, we've seen probably, or we've lived what's probably going on now, which maybe happened within our organisation 20 years ago. So there's a lot that they need sorted, Adrian. But as I said, I think John Herdman has tried to park all the negativity that's around the team going into this tournament and tried to say, look, just focus on the match itself, or the matches themselves, because there's so many players that are nowhere near the level that they'll be playing against. Certainly, you know, a lot of them play MLS football, a lot of them play maybe lower league football around Europe. So the big players like Alfonso Davies, Eustachio, Jonathan David, Buchanan, these guys that I've spoke about earlier, these are the guys that are going to be reliant on to get them results in those big games against Belgium and Croatia.
One man who will be at the World Cup, Kev, is Cristiano Ronaldo, and a bit of a circus around this interview with Piers Morgan, and the timing of it, I guess, has been one issue that certainly has been brought up. But like, what was your take on the whole thing? Clearly, the United players aren't happy, and it seems, you know, when you go attacking your manager, it's not great, is it?
No, that's him, isn't it? Let's be honest. I don't think anybody in the wildest dreams or wildest thoughts would ever think that Cristiano Ronaldo is not vain. It's not all about Cristiano Ronaldo. That's the way that he's played his whole career. That's what he's been about. So realistically, he's on the wane as a player, and I think it's hard to accept. It's hard at whatever level that you're playing at. It's hard to accept that you're not the player that you probably once was. And I don't think he probably realised how much he would probably have to give to the team aspect. I think that's one thing that he could probably get away with in Spain. I think anyone that's watched him over the last 10 or 15 years realised that Real Madrid's team was built around him. You had the workmen around him that freed him up to play on the left-hand side. You know, Gareth Bale and him clashed numerous times over the years because of the position that Bale was asked to play, not necessarily able to fit into that side. So there's a number of things where you kind of knew when he signed it wasn't necessarily going to work out, given United, and they were never able to build a side around him. They would have had to probably been 3 or 4 different players that would have had to go in to suit him. And yeah, he's going to score goals, but realistically, anyone watching United knew full well that he wasn't probably the right fit for United and what they needed when they brought him in. So it's boiled over frustration that's come out in him. And I actually didn't like the interview, listening to it and watching it. I'm sure a lot of people see it. I just think there's so many leading questions within the interview. I just kind of watching it, going, the state of the pair of them actually watching it. So Ronaldo, that's the only thing I can say on it, Shane. That's my take on it. I didn't expect anything less from him. I don't think he'll play again for United. He shouldn't play again for United. And that's maybe seems to be the message that's coming out of United over the last 24, 48 hours.
I thought it was a hard watch if you respected everything he's done as a player. It was a hard watch in the sense that he was the critique of people like Neville or Rooney, the differences in the, well, his analysis around that stuff just seems so wrong-headed to me, that like he viewed any criticism of him as a player as being negative comment. Out of it, for me, was like, if there's been all this conversation about the tension around, did United, were they trying to get rid of him, or were they blocking a move for him to go somewhere? But if I'm a manager at the club now, looking at that playing out, I mean, I know managers do tend to delude themselves that I can get the best out of this guy, I'll bring him in, put the arm around him. But you're looking at that. Piers Morgan is banging on about getting whatever it was, 40 million views or whatever today on part one. If you're a manager looking at that, I'm not sure you want to put yourself in the path of that, even given what he's done as a player.
No, I'm your agent, to be honest with you.
I'm giving you my opinion on it.
I know you're giving me opinion, but asking me at the same time. No, I know. I think that's fair. It is. As I said before, it's all around. He's done that interview for a reason, hasn't he? The way that he's done that interview, that interview, for a reason of, I want to get as many views as possible. I want to get my story. He's trying to control the narrative of that story, isn't he? That's exactly what he's tried to do, rather than say, well, look, things aren't going particularly well for me at my club. I'm not necessarily in the team at the moment. I'm going to work hard to get back in the side. We know those days are gone now, particularly for the level of player that Cristiano Ronaldo is. But I don't know. It almost seems to me it's a bit sad. I don't know. Did you not watch it in bits the clips that I've seen? I've not seen the interview yet, actually. I've just been seeing the clips that's been drip fed onto Twitter and various social media feeds. And it's just quite sad. You said before, given what he's achieved and everything that he's achieved, rightly so, because of the player that he was. But it just seems quite sad that a player would reduce himself to doing an interview with Piers Morgan in that way, when he talks about, in that interview, there's so many players that aren't professional enough. Man United, it's not about the football. Well, if it's about the football to Ronaldo, then he wouldn't be doing that interview, would he? Let's be quite honest about that. So full well there's a different agenda there. So that's the way that I viewed it. I just think, as I said before, I just think it's sad. I think it's almost like a sad end to him, because there's talk of him coming over to the MLS over here, so I'll watch that probably to see if that does come about. But I can't. He's not going to go to a top. He's not going to go to a top four club in any league, is he? Let's be honest. You can't see PSG taking him, who realistically got a chance to win the Champions League. There was talk of Chelsea where their owner was talking of bringing him in because he wants that maybe star profile, that social media superstar, I suppose, to come into the team. But I can't imagine Graham Potter being able to handle that type of personality in that dressing room. I just can't see it. So in England, no. Spain, no, absolutely not. And if you look at Italy, I mean, if you look at Juventus, the way that they are now, he's almost crippled that club financially with the financial package that he had in place. Juventus are miles off where they were 3 or 4 years ago before they signed Ronaldo. So honestly, I just think it's a sad end to him. And, I think he can maybe go back to Portugal and, see out your days. If he wants to carry on playing, there's still a place for him within some side. But at the top elite level, there doesn't seem to be a place for him in any side.
Yeah, maybe it will be the MLS, as you say, Kev. A lot of those MLS guys will come up against England, Gareth Southgate's England at this World Cup. A bit of expectation around the US squad. A lot of those with Premier League experience, some of those Leeds players as well. Like, do you think Southgate knows his best team? How do you think England are set heading into the World Cup?
I mean, watching England at the Euros, Shane, I was actually really, really disappointed with Southgate's setup in that tournament throughout. I know they got to the final, but ultimately, I think it was a setup that cost them in the final against Italy. But maybe going back to the US team, you said there's a lot of bit of hype around them. Maybe there's a lot of expectation. I don't rate them, Shane. I don't think they're a good side. I've seen an awful lot of them, particularly through qualification here in CONCACAF. Anyone that looks at the Morocco game, they beat Morocco earlier on this year. They beat them 3-0. Take nothing from that game because they give up a lot of chances in the match. And Morocco, it was almost like a testimonial game. It was just so open, the game. But I saw them play Japan recently. They lost to Japan. There's a lot of energy in the team, Shane, with the US. And you mentioned the Aronson and Tyler Adams at Leeds. Tyler Adams, I think, is a really good player, actually. Aronson plays with a lot of energy, but there's not a lot of creativity in the side. I don't think, personally. Pulisic is a player, again, plays with a lot of energy, but is there an end product with him? Personally, I don't think there is. The captain, Walker Zimmerman, plays in the MLS. A bit of a liability is the way that I see it. Turner, the goalkeeper, who's now signed for Arsenal. I don't rate him. I don't see him as a real top class goalkeeper. I'm picking apart the side here. Gee, I sound awful, but I don't see them at the level that maybe they see themselves at. McKinney, who plays at Juventus, I quite like him. I think he's a bit of a powerhouse, but at times he's sloppy in possession. He's more of a runner from midfield who can arrive in the penalty area and score a goal. But playing the US side, I think he's got to play a bit deeper. So defensively, they have Dest, who's at AC Milan now from Barcelona. Again, he's another one who's not great defensively, very good getting forward, pacey, quick going forward. But I don't see him as a real outstanding defender. England should exploit the US. I don't think they're as good as they are. CONCACAF, as a region here, Canada topped it, I thought, convincingly. They were the best team by far. Mexico, probably the worst team I've ever seen from Mexico. If anyone that would have watched Mexico in World Cups gone by, you wait to watch Mexico because there's a bit of a buzz and excitement around them, the energy they play with. I've not seen that from Mexico, and I've not seen it in the friendlies that they've been playing in recently as well. So I wouldn't judge anything from Mexico going into this tournament as well. But the US, I think they should be dispatched by England. I think England have got way too much for them and Iran. I expect England to get 9 points. Wales, I don't think Wales, in all honesty, I don't think they've got the squad that they had maybe 4-6 years ago as well. I know Bale's the enigma that can produce something. He did that in the MLS Cup final. If anyone would have seen that last-minute equaliser to take the game to penalties for LAFC. But he's just not played an awful lot of games, Shane. And so I think if I'm looking at that group, England should convincingly take 9 points. But judging that from the 9 points they'll probably get from that group, 7 at least, I don't necessarily see them as a team that's going to go out and get deep into the tournament. I just don't. I think there's too many question marks around England. If I'm looking at a lot of the other sides that I think potentially are in a better place ahead of this tournament.
Just struck me, who are you going to support at the Women's World Cup, Ireland or Canada?
Come on, Jesus Christ! Why would I support? I'm Irish. I'm Irish. Jeez, why would I support anybody? When have I ever hot nations? Tell me when.
Was there not an England underage squad?
I was picked for England underage, and I turned them down, as you well know. So why?
Kind of worms here.
Yeah, you're just waffling on there. You're trying
to.
Are
you out for the duration? No matter what happens with Canada.
No, I am. Yeah, I'm there for the duration. I'm looking forward to the knockout stages, actually, as it's going to turn out. I think that's when we know it'll get interesting. I know that a lot of the crap that's around this World Cup, and I honestly, I think I'm really interested to see how it's going to be reported over there on Qatari television, with everything that's gone on around it, the World Cup. And you mentioned that documentary, the FIFA documentary. I've actually downloaded it, so I'm going to watch it on the plane when I'm heading over there. But how they were given the World Cup, the human rights issues, the LGBTQ, and all the issues they've got around homosexuality out there in Qatar, women's rights, all these sort of things. I'm going to be interested to see how it goes out there. And let's be honest, Qatar shouldn't be hosting a World Cup. I think we all recognise that, and there is an ill feeling around the World Cup being in Qatar, but we simply have to look at the football, and I think we'll all look at it once the tournament actually does start, and we'll look at how it's going to go. Not least because it's a winter tournament; it shouldn't be played in the winter. We know that, and there's a lot of players that feel tired coming into this World Cup because of the amount of games. I'm just looking forward, honestly, to seeing. I'm really looking forward to seeing Croatia, because they're a team I've watched an awful lot. I'm looking forward to see how they go. I'm looking forward to seeing Brazil. I think Brazil have got a great chance of winning it. I think we've got the best squad. Let's see how France go. Can they retain it? There's a lot of things I'm looking to really go and experience out there, but there's a lot of other issues I think that I'll be probably keeping a close eye on as well.
Yeah, there was certainly a couple of weird scenarios that cropped up during the week. There was a Danish TV guy that got approached by 3 or 4 heavies in a golf cart. Grant Wall was reprimanded for taking a photograph of some slogan in I don't know, was it a dressing room or a press room? And the facilities for fans looked to be Fire Festival-esque, was how I described it on Twitter. It's not great. Is there any party that's concerned, or are you comfortable enough?
A little bit. And honestly, God, I tell you, the amount of traveling that I've done over the years. First of all, honestly, I'm actually a little bit anxious the first time actually traveling, just simply because leaving the family. I think it's been. Yeah. I haven't left Canada in 3 years, and the amount of traveling that I was doing when I was working with you guys and off the ball over there, and I was going back and forth to England an awful lot. I was having 2 and 3 flights a week, 4 flights a week sometimes. It was crazy, the schedule that I had. And I've had a lot of downtime in the last few years, and I'm probably a little bit anxious because of that. I have to say that's what I'm feeling. Not least because I'm going to a country that, as I said before, it's hard to ever have imagined Qatar with all there may be records, or maybe anywhere across the Middle East with the records on as I said before, on homosexuality and all these sort of things that are outlawed. It's hard to imagine I'm going to a country. The first time I'm actually really leaving Canada, since I've arrived here, I'm going to a country that's so alien to us and to our thinking, to the Irish way of thinking. That's the way that I feel. So it's going to be strange for me. It is. But in answer to your question, yeah, there is probably a little bit of anxiety in me for the first time when I've ever travelled in my life. Yeah, I have to say that.
Kev, great stuff. Well, listen, hopefully you can enjoy some of it at least. And here's to Canada getting out of the group and doing some damage. And we'll check in with you daily across the World Cup as well.
All right, take it easy. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to it.
Safe travel.